Right, everybody, welcome to this discussion on Jews sold blacks. This is just a natural extension on the series I did on the Zio-run slave trade. What we're going to be doing here is just looking at examples of newspaper clippings from the 18th, 19th centuries from across the colonies / states, showing that, indeed, they ran the whole operation. They didn't just run the slave trade ships, but once they were here, they were always the ones at the top, auctioning off, advertising, slaves that were up for sale, auctions that were coming, blah, blah, blah. They operated, coordinated, and profiteered off of the whole damn thing from beginning to end. Much of this material came from the series of books written by, Farrakhan. Really good series. The secret history of, or the secret relationship between blacks and Jews, I think is what it's called. I can't remember now. It's been several years since I read it. Anyway, let's look at some examples of this. Abraham Seixas, I mentioned him before, of Charleston, South Carolina, placed this ad in a local paper in the early 19th century. It stated, he has for sale some male Negroes will suit full well for grooms. He has likewise some of their wives can make clean dirty rooms. In other words, let's split up these marriages here. You can take the wives. You over here can take the husbands. They're great for cleaning up dirty rooms. Unbelievable. Human cargo. Human machines, if you will. Up for grabs. Up for sale. Come and get yours today. He went on to say, for planting, too, he has a few. Oh, it's a poem. It rhymes. Isn't that quaint? For planting, too, he has a few to sell for the cash of various price, to work the rice or bring them to the lash. Oh, only a Zio would come up with trash like this. Make 'em work in the rice fields, and if not, give 'em a lash. Unbelievable, man. You can just picture this little snake in the grass laughing as he wrote this up, The young ones true, if that will do, may same be had of him. To learn your trade, they may be made, or bring them to your trim. Unbelievable, man. You can make them learn your trade. The young ones true, if that will do. He's literally saying here, use them for whatever you want. The young ones too, for your pleasure. There's no law that's going to hold you liable for anything you do with them. If you buy them of me, whatever you say, they will obey. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I've broken them already. Thousands of years of history of mind control tactics that we have kept secret to ourselves have been employed to ensure that they'll do whatever you tell them to do. If you buy them of me, whatever you say, they will obey. Yeah. Yeah. This is so freaking disgusting. And then these swine bags who control the media today have modern black men and women, a great many of them, believing that the problem of slavery was a white man creation. Was it really now? Anyway, the message here is disgusting enough, but this scumbag put it in poetic form. He turned exploitation into an art form. How entertaining. Maurice Barnett of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, opened the slave auction house of Jacobs and Asbridge. He was one of the most prolific slave traders of the entire history of the enterprise, and was a close friend of the slave-breeding Jewish pirate Jean Lafitte. Anyway, he placed an ad in a local paper on October 29th of 1839, listing a group of 20 slaves that he was planning on auctioning off in December of that same year. Two of the lines are worthy of note. The first one says, Osborne, about 26 years of age, mulatto, a good carriage driver and waiter, active and handy at anything he is put to. Just give your command, he'll do whatever you say. Can you imagine these freaking scumbag slave drivers have the gall, the frickin' nerve to make the claim that they have been the oppressed down through the centuries. They have suffered persecution. They have been the target of genocide. They have been enslaved everywhere they've ever gone. Really now? Do you see how, when you have control over the media, you can create any illusions and delusions that you want? And that's exactly all they've ever done. Here's another line. Lucinda, about 22 years of age, Osborne's wife, very intelligent, good cook, washer, and ironer. Again, come and grab them together or separately, doesn't matter. I don't care if I break up this marriage and never see each other again. What the hell consequence is that to me or you, the buyer? None! So come on down, check them out today, offering a special deal. Oh, it boils my blood to think what they have gotten away with and what they're still getting away with, and how they make themselves look like victims and pin one group of Gentiles against another for things they themselves are responsible for. When does the madness stop? When you realize how many thousands of years this has gone on for, in nation after nation after nation after nation, the demand for justice should be screamed at deafening levels from every mountaintop on this freaking planet, baby. Anyway, postings like this make it clear that there was no regard as to whether these two people were sold separately, right? And thus, this marriage split up permanently. No, there was no regard for them at all. Remember the previous poem we just read, right? Put them to work in the rice fields, and if not, give them the lash. Do with them as you please. There were no laws protecting the rights of slaves. They didn't have any rights. You, though, as a slave handler, had every right to do whatever you wanted to with your property. And where did this idea come from, that these human beings were property? The Bible, yes. You may buy slaves from the nations around you, and you will own them for life. They will be your property. You can will them to your children. They shall be your slaves for life. You may even beat your slaves to your heart's content, as long as they don't die within 2 days. Beat them to a pulp. They can pass out and vomit all the contents of their stomach all over the place. Doesn't matter to me, says Mr. Yahweh. Break a few bones while you're at it. As long as they don't die in 2 days, you won't suffer any penalties. Don't worry. Because they're your property. This same ad went on to mention the children of this couple, who would also be up for auction. Again, buy them as a set or mix and match. Doesn't matter to me, and it shouldn't matter to you either. Split up this marriage, scatter the kids across the countryside. It went on to say, Commodore, about 6 years of age. Josephine, about 4 years of age. Henry, 2 years of age. And finally, Osborne, 1 year of age. Come on down. Check them out. Bring your cash. A baby, a year old. And then its brother, 2 years old. Sister, 4 years old. And finally, the brother, 6 years old. Nice, nice, nice. There was even this disgusting listing. It said, William, an infant, was also up for sale. I don't understand it, honey. I kicked this infant, I beat it, and it won't do what I say. I want my money back. An infant for sale. Another ad was posted in the South Carolina Gazette and Daily Advertiser by the slaving company of Cohen and Alexander, which ran on August 4th to the 7th of 1784. It advertised an estate sale declaring, quote, will be sold several valuable Negroes, cash only. Cash only. We'll give you our worthless checks, but we want cash. Back then, cash actually had value, unlike the fiat currency we have today. They've had us borrow from them through our wonderful government. Worthless fiat currency. And then our government paid them back with our gold that had real value, right? Giving us literally debt receipts in exchange. Coming attached with outrageous rates of usury. Oh, what they have gotten away with and still are. Anyway, yet another Charleston ad was placed in the Charleston City Gazette on June 6th of 1805 by Cohen and Moses. And it read, public auction, 15 Negroes belonging to the estate of Francis Labamba, among the numbers are a fisherman, cooks, washers, and handy boys and girls. Again, young kids, right? Oh, they enslaved kids too. Sometime I'll do a presentation. I might do that coming up soon, actually. Yeah, that'll dovetail with this so well. Of the slave system that continued on after the so-called liberation of the black slaves, right? Along came the Industrial Revolution, wherein, amongst others, kids, young kids, were enslaved in factories. White kids. Yeah. Though they got rid of slavery, all right. And in case you're not aware of the horrific conditions that they were forced into, the long working hours, the harmful, life-threatening circumstances that they were forced to work under, the unsanitary condition, it's freaking mind-blowing. And this was after slavery was abolished. Again, guys, when you look at the 13th Amendment, all it says is involuntary servitude. That's all that was being outlawed. Involuntary. And don't worry, they didn't stop that either. That just went deep underground. They outlawed the open practice of it. But it said nothing against voluntary servitude. Yeah. And immediately, they didn't even wait 5 minutes, right? They were enslaving not just adults, children in the factories under horrific, deplorable conditions. Well, guess what? We're inching our way back to that again, aren't we? Already, a great many people, most people actually, who go to get a job today at your average, Walmart or Walgreens, or, one of these big multinational quadrillion-dollar frickin' PSYO-run corporations, they don't get full-time, they don't get benefits, they get sleazy dirt frickin' wages that you can't even support your own self on, let alone anybody else, right? Oh, we're heading right back in that same direction, aren't we? It's where they wanted us all along. Also, the ad goes on to say, 4 shares in the South Carolina Cotton Company. So you buy these slaves and you'll get 4 shares in the Cotton Company, all based on profits from slave labor, of course. Cohen and Moses also advertised in the October 14th, 1806 edition of this same paper, stating, quote, "This day, the 14th, at 12 o'clock, will be sold before our store 25 African slaves. Conditions, cash on delivery." Cohen and Moses also placed this ad in the Charleston City Gazette and Advertiser on November 3rd of 1806. It stated, "Sales at auction by Cohen and Moses. Africans at auction this day, 3rd of November at 12 o'clock, will be sold before our store 40 prime young Africans. Conditions, notes with approved endorsers at 60 and 90 days. So they would accept notes, but had to be paid back with it, between 60 and 90 days. But look at, what a lucrative business they made out of this, and who was running it? Cohen and Moses. These are all Jew names, guys. Always Jew names. On the following day, again, Cohen and Moses placed this ad in the same paper. A smart, active Negro boy, condition cash. A boy. So you can just imagine, what, 8, 10, 12 years old, whatever? A young kid up for sale. It didn't matter the age, the sex. We've already seen they sold freaking infants too, right? Unfreaking believable. On November 11th, the same year, same company, same paper, this ad was placed. One Negro woman, a good washer and ironer, also an African wench. Yeah, that's the term they used. An African wench with her daughter, a girl of about 14 years of age, and a prime African fellow, condition cash. On the following day, this ad was placed by the same company in the same paper. 24 prime Africans, all in good order. Conditions, 60 and 90 days of 1% per month. Discount for cash. In other words, paying cash, I'll give you a deal. Otherwise, 1% per month. Imagine, they were making a killing off of that, but only 1%. On November 25th, Cohen and Moses placed this ad. A smart, active African boy has been 2 years in the country, sold for no fault but to raise cash, which must be paid on delivery. On the same day, in the same paper, David Mordecai and Company, another Jewish name, of course, placed this particular ad. A likely, or in this case meaning likable, a likely country-born Negro girl about 18 years of age, a good field hand. Also, an African boy about 13 years of age, smart and active, conditions, cash. Again, notice, no concern about age, no concern about their desires for their life, to plan for their future. Their future was already determined for them. And guess what? Largely, they've determined our futures, haven't they? They certainly have limited our choices, and they become more and more limited all the time, don't they? In this free society we live in. On October 2nd, 1807, Cohen and Moses were at it again, placing this ad in the same paper. 2 Africans, 1 girl, 1 boy, about 12 months in the city and near 14 years of age. Both of the above slaves are of excellent dispositions and warranted characters, accustomed to housework, conditions, cash. Accustomed to housework. 14-year-old kids, right? And again, sounds horrific, doesn't it? And it is. But nothing changed after so-called emancipation, right? Now they were enslaving kids in the factories, whites and blacks. When they say equal opportunity employment, which is a joke anyway, isn't it? But what they really mean is equal opportunity enslavement. We don't just want to enslave blacks anymore. We want to enslave everybody equally. On December 8th, the same company placed this ad. Africans, men, women, girls, also a likely, or again, likable girl, handy with her needle, No, a good sower, in other words. And accustomed to mind a child. Conditions, cash. A good babysitter, in other words, that you don't have to pay. This ad was placed by the same company on January 20th of 1808. 50 prime Africans, men, women, boys, and girls, conditions, cash. Again, sex, age, didn't matter. On March 6, 1786, Abraham Cohen placed an ad in the Charleston paper Patriotic Courier of North America that mentioned the sale of, quote, excellent field slaves. Abraham was the postmaster general, i.e. spy, and a slave-dealing auctioneer who personally held 21 slaves himself. Jewish names, guys, again and again and again. Abraham Cohen. He was also a trustee of the Beth Elohim Synagogue in 1791. So these were devoutly religious Jews. Yeah, religion does so much for a person, doesn't it? Always has, hasn't it? Especially those Abrahamics. Where do you think they learned the tricks of the trade? But, yeah, Postmaster General, guys, as I pointed out before when I talked about taverns and their role in the American Revolution, Postmaster Generals were spies, literally. They were like CIA operatives of the day. In the August 7th, 1786 edition of this same paper, Abraham Cohen placed this ad. Taken up by the subscriber, a Negro named Jim, about 5 feet, 5 or 6 inches high, 20 years old, had on a white Negro cloth jacket and trousers. Says that he formerly belonged to Emmanuel Cox of PD, a town, I guess, who sold him to Captain Hall of Maryland, who was killed at the Ottawas by the British during the Revolutionary War, obviously. Since which time he has been in the profession of Mr. Jenkins at Camden. In other words, you know, his slave owner died, so he went to work for this guy. Whoever claims the said Negro may have him on paying charges and applying to Abraham Cohen. In other words, we caught this guy, who technically should be a slave. Didn't matter, the slave owner died. He was living independently, but now we've recaptured him, and we're bringing him back under, you know, legal status as a slave. That's what he's saying here. We caught this guy operating independently as a human being. So, you know, join with me in bringing him to justice, and all the while making me some fat wads of cash here so I can sell him to you as a slave. Disgusting. Anyway, Jacob Cohen, 1741 to 1808, was a Charleston plantation owner who personally kept 294 black slaves. He had served as president of the local Beth Elohim Synagogue. Yeah. On April 5th, 1788, he placed this ad in the local Charleston paper. On Thursday, the 10th of April, will be sold 3 elegant horses and a Negro boy about 18 years old, a good waiter. In the April 9th, 1796 edition of the same paper, this same scoundrel posted this ad. 1 Negro wench, a good cook, and 2 Negro girls. Conditions: notes and 60 and 120 days credit with good endorsers. In other words, people who will vouch for you, I'll give you the credit, but no longer than 120 days, you got to give me full payment plus interest. On November 5th, 1802, this same slave trader placed this ad, again in the same local paper. 2 Negro fellows, good sailors, having followed the sea for several years. A Negro wench, a good washer and ironer, and a Negro girl used to housework. In the October 20th, 1803 edition of the same paper, he placed this ad. A Negro wench about 20 years of age, a good cook, washer and ironer, and a faithful servant. He also advertised a Negro man about 48 years of age, somewhat of a cook, honest and no runaways, conditions cash. In other words, you don't have to worry about this guy. He never attempted a runaway before. Yeah, he probably saw what happened to others who tried and realized it was futile and would just wind up having him lose a foot or something. Later, Cohen's son joined him in the business, and they placed this ad in the January 6th, 1857 edition of the Charleston Mercury. Estate sale, 210 rice field Negroes accustomed to the culture of rice and cotton. Already trained, ready to be put to work. Crack the whip. Whip sold separately. On November 26, 1857, Jacob Cohen and Son placed this ad in the Charleston Mercury. Private sales. All that plantation on Edisto Island, unknown as Progmore, whatever that is, containing 250 acres. I guess Progmore was the former owner. Something happened. I guess the guy died or whatever. So this Zio pig swooped down to scoop up all the booty and then sell it. About 210 acres are under a high state of cultivation. On the plantation is a fine dwelling house with Negro houses for 50 Negroes. So yeah, that had to be what happened. The former owner died. This guy's swooping down now. And getting his grubby hands on, man, oh man. This same father and son company placed this ad in the November 19th, 1857 Charleston Mercury. 125 rice field Negroes, among whom are carpenters, bricklayers, engineers, etc. These Negroes have always been attached to this plantation and were mostly raised thereon. So you might as well just buy the whole thing. slaves and all, because they're already used to working here. So, you don't have to break them in. They don't have to be familiarized with the work. They already know it. All set up for you, ready to go. A bill of sale survives to our day that dates to 1864. It records the sale of 2 Negro slaves by Simon Cohen of Augusta, Georgia. The total cost was $3,000. Jacob de Leon was a Jewish commission merchant in Charleston, South Carolina. He was born in Jamaica in 1764, the piracy haven, and died in Columbia, South Carolina in 1828. Anyway, he was a member of the Beth Elohim congregation and a prominent local Freemason. Well, that just figures, doesn't it? In the November 11th, 1806 edition of the Charleston City Gazette and Daily Advertiser, he placed an ad that listed a number of items that he had up for sale. And the ad ended off by saying, quote, "Also at 11 o'clock will be sold a Negro boy between 11 and 12 years of age. Conditions cash. A Negro boy between 11 and 12. Oh, this is prime material here. Young, healthy, vibrant. He'll be able to withstand a lot of beatings if you have to resort to that and still be able to work." A certain David Franks, a Jew once again, placed this ad in the August 6, 1761 edition of the Pennsylvania Gazette. A cargo of a cargo of likable Negroes just imported. Oh, come and get them. Just imported. Again, like goods, right? Commodities. Just imported. Yeah, the ones that survived. Mr. Isaac Franks placed this ad in the December 3rd, 1790 edition of the Pennsylvania Packet and Daily Advertiser. Again, another Jew, Franks. 40 shillings reward. Run away from the subscriber last night. An indentured Negro girl, about 16 years of age, about 5 feet high. She formerly was the property of Mr. Daniel Dupay, or Dupay. Dupay is more like it. Whoever will bring said Negro to the subscriber or lodge her in any jail so that she may be had again, shall receive the above reward with refundable charges. You know, anything it costs you to lodge her until we can come and apprehend her, you'll be reimbursed, in other words. 16-year-old girl. How dare she have the audacity to escape our clutches, to be exploited by us at our pleasure. Oh, wait till we get our hands on her. And the attitude was, we don't care if we beat her to the point where she's no longer usable as our slave. It's just the thrill of catching her and making her pay for putting us through this. And having the audacity to not want to serve us. You know what I'm saying? And they would probably beat the daylights out of her in front of other slaves, you know, to send the message, see what happens if you follow in her footsteps? A 16-year-old girl. Yeah. Yeah. The Zios have been so oppressed, haven't they? This same individual placed this ad in Philadelphia's Independent Gazette on October 15th of 1785. For sale, a likely, again, likable, young Negro girl about 8 years old has 20 years to serve. I'm not sure what that meant. I guess they were under contract or whatever. And so she was purchased for apparently maybe as a baby, for 28 years. So here she is, 8 years old, had already been serving as a slave for 8 years. And so 20 years to serve must have been the end of her contract. Of course, I'm sure at the end of that contract, somebody else would come along and buy her for another contract, another 20 or whatever years, In any case, I guess that's what that means, is when you bought her, you would be able to pick up that, because she was already under contract. You'd be able to have her, hold her for that 20 years. And at the end of that, you'd have to either repurchase her or sell her or whatever. I think that's how that worked. In any case, though, check it out, guys. 8 years old. For sale. A likable young Negro girl about 8 years old. And once again, I don't think I have to tell you, they weren't just used for hard labor. Oh, they were used for all kinds of things. Samuel Hart Sr. Was a member of the, again, Beth Elohim Synagogue, right, in Charleston. He was a bookseller and publisher, and he served as Charleston's commissioner of markets from 1852 to 1859. Commissioner of markets. Yeah. In other words, they always weaseled their way into high positions in finance, right? As well as in politics. In the June 7th, 1832 edition of Charleston's Southern Patriot paper, he placed this ad. Positive sale of 11 valuable young Negroes. Among them are laborers, cooks, and house servants. Also, a first-rate tailor and a waiting man, or a waiter, about 19 years old. Unbelievable. On February 26th of 1833, this same loser placed another ad in this same paper, which stated 20 likely, again, likable young Negroes, among whom are several boys. Again, young, underage boys. Rah, rah, freaking rah. The Houston Weekly Telegraph, dated July 17th, 1860, carried this ad. We invite the attention of the public to our stock on hand. Stock. At which we will sell as low as the lowest. All orders must be either accompanied by the cash or city references, city endorsed credit. We attend to the sale of real estate, Negroes, horses, etc. So whatever you need, come down and have a look. But we have the finest Negroes money can buy. This ad was placed by Hohenthal, Reichman and Company. Again, Jews, guys. Every single time. There's always a Jew behind every one of these sales. Samuel Hyams, another Zio pig, placed this ad in the Charleston City Gazette and Daily Advertiser on March 1st of 1803. It said, public auction, a little Negroid wench, sober, honest, and no runaways. A little Negro wench. You can just imagine how young she was, right? Samuel Hyams placed this ad in the August 23rd, 1815 edition of this same paper. The following valuable Negroes are for sale. Jack, a coach driver and horse breeder, about 35 years old. Louis speaks French and of a good disposition, about 37 years of age. Joe, about 23 years of age. Dick, about 14 years of age. A smart, active youth. Handles horses with judgment. Alec, about 12 years of age, is used to stable work and to driving carts. Willie, used to gardening and field work, about 55 years of age. Don't matter now that, at that time, that was well into your senior years, right? Doesn't matter. He's still capable. You got to probably whip him a little harder, a little more frequently, but he'll do the work. And then finally, Chloe, a very old woman, it says. Imagine that. Oh, yeah. No retirement plan for black slaves in general. A very old woman, still putting her up for sale. Can you freaking believe it? Probably hunched over, barely able to walk to the latrine, right? The outhouse. And yet, you can still get some use out of her for something. Unbelievable, man. The September 30th, 1806 edition of this same paper carried this ad placed by A. Isaacs Jr. I don't have to tell you what kind of name that is. This day will be sold before my store without reserve 10 African Negroes. Well, rah, rah, rah for you. You poor oppressed Zio pig, you. Jacob Isaacs placed this ad in the September 11th, 1784 edition of the Newport Mercury of Newport, Rhode Island, which, again, is where the whole operation was physically run out of, right? The article said, Jacob Isaacs, broker, has several Negro boys and girls from 10 to 17 years of age. Some of them for a term of time, the others for life. So, yeah, it depended on the deal that was made at the time of sale. Some were sold for life. Some were just for a period of time, after which you had to either, buy them for another term or just sell them, whatever. So I was right about that assessment. That's what I figured. But check it out. Girls and boys. from 10 to 17. Oh, I bet at this younger age, they were probably more expensive because you're going to get more use out of them, and they're younger, so you can slave drive them even harder than the older ones, right? Filthy scum of the earth. It just goes on and on here. The October 30th, 1772 edition of the Connecticut Journal of New Haven, Connecticut, carried this ad placed by Ralph Isaacs. Again, another Zio. Wanted a number of Negroes, men, women, and children from 8 to 30 years of age. Any person having such to dispose of may find a purchaser by applying to Ralph Isaacs. Oh, he was desperate. He wanted black slaves here, but specifically young ones, right? From 8 to 30 years of age. The South Carolina Weekly Gazette of November 7th, 1783, carried this ad. Public auction by Jacob Jacobs. I think that's an Italian name if I stop and think of it. Yeah, that's Italian sounding to me. Jacob Jacobs. What do you think? It's either Italian or Greek. One of those. Jacob Jacobs, 10 prime new Negro men. None exceeding 18 years of age. Oh, look at that. Again, yeah, the younger they were more desirable, right? More in their prime. Not just to be worked over, but, for other purposes, too. The Negroes are newly clothed, for which $3 per suit must be paid. Oh, they have new clothes, so we need to make our money back for those clothes, too. $3. That was a lot of money back then, right? Here's another one. Rabbi Israel J. Jones was a synagogue president in Mobile, Alabama during the mid-19th century. He was also a slave trader and auctioneer. And he was on the board of the delegates of American Israelites. Imagine that. The first national Jewish organization in the United States. One of the delegates of American Israelites. In the Mobile Daily Advertiser and Chronicle of February 6, 1841, this rabbi placed this ad. At our auction, Negroes, a man 23 years old, field hand boy 7 years old, woman 30 years old. So a man 23, a boy 7, and then a woman 30. This was a rabbi. Most people would think, a rabbi? Really? A godly man? A minister? These are the very ones, more than any other, that you should expect to see this from, right? Very learned in the Torah and the Talmud, which teaches that the goy were put there to serve them. Not just blacks, but whites and Puerto Ricans and you name it. You name it. All non-Jews, all of them, were put here to serve them. Rabbi Jacob Levine of Columbia, South Carolina, was the leader of his Jewish community there. as well as, of course, a slave trading auctioneer. He was also an official of the Hebrew Benevolent Society of Colombia. Benevolent? How can you ever put those two words in one sentence? Unless you understand the word benevolent to apply only to fellow Hebrews and anti-benevolence to everyone else. He was also, get this, Grand Master of the local Masonic Lodge there. That figures. Anyway, he placed this ad in the December 17th, 1852 edition of the Columbia Daily South Carolinian. It stated, Negroes at auction, 22 likely, again, likable Negroes, the larger members of which are young and desirable. Yep, see, there you go. The younger, the more desirable, and the more valuable they were. Among them are field hands, carriage drivers, house servants, and of the flowering ages. Wow, wow. Apparently that meant you can breed them and have more slaves, right? Then it goes on to list several of them. Robinson, 40, Elsie, 34, Yannicki, 13. Oh, that's nice. Sylvia, 11. Oh, that's even nicer. Aliki, 8. Robinson, 6. Oh, they keep going down here. Candy, 3. Thomas, 35. Amy, 18. Eldridge, 13. Charles, 6. Sarah, 60. Oh, an ailing senior woman, 60. Yeah, let's put her to work. Beckett, 50. Mary, 18. Betty, 16. Guy, 12. Ela, 9. Lydia, 24. Rachel, 4. Oh, and then Scipio, 2. 2 years old. Up for sale, this fine young toddler here at 2. I'm sure you can find some kind of work to put him to. Use your imagination. Anything goes. Unfreaking believable. It makes me think again of that film, Mandingo. One of the things they would use young kids like this for, children, toddlers, it was a belief at the time that you could get rid of, arthritic pains or gout or whatever by sleeping on top of your bed with your bare feet pressed against the body of one of these young Negro children. And the harder you would press your feet into them, the more effective the treatment would be. You would actually be passing your ailment from your feet into their body. So push, push, push. Didn't matter if you were breaking ribs or suffocating them so they couldn't breathe, press on them against the footboard, and the arthritis or the gout or whatever would be transferred from your feet into their body. Yep. That was one of many wonderful uses they would put these young black children to. The article or the ad ended off by saying, the above Negroes are sold for the purpose of making some other investment of the proceeds. The sale will therefore be positive. So I'm not exactly sure what that meant. But anyway, L.A. Levy Jr. placed this ad in the November 26, 1859 edition of the Daily True Delta of New Orleans. It said, L.A. Levy, auctioneer, will continue to give his attention to the sales of real estate, Negroes, damaged cotton, furniture, and outdoor business generally. So, in other words, this is the man to contact here if you need any of these items, including Negro slaves. Levy. Levy. Always these names are Jewish names. Anyway, guys, I see we've made it to the hour mark, and even though I've got another 6 pages of this, I don't think I'm going to carry this on into another video just because, you know, you get the point. I don't need to go into this in any more detail. It gets kind of redundant after a while. So many other important things I want to get to regarding the slave trade. But you get the point, right? All of these ads, and these are just the ones that have survived to our day. There have been so very many more. And you can bet every freaking time it was a Zio pig name. Every freaking time. They brought them here. They traded them. They auctioned them. They were the ones that hired, you know, placed a bounty on the heads of any that escaped, and they'd give the reward for the recapture, and, you know, it was them from start to finish across the board the whole freaking time. And again, they have the audacity to claim that their victims, they've been enslaved. Anybody with half a functioning neuron knows that the story of their alleged enslavement in Egypt is bogus. It never happened. In fact, they were the ones doing the enslaving, weren't they? And we all know, hopefully, about their little Holocaust lies. If not, stay tuned. I'll be getting into that too. Anyway, guys, so yeah, I'll stop this here. If anybody wants, though, just request the notes, and you can have all 16 pages of this. And by no means is this exhaustive. If you really want the exhaustive coverage of this, just get Farrakhan's series there. This, you know, the secret relationship between blacks and Jews. He goes into this in much, much more gory detail. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. We'll catch you in the next video. Take care.